How long have you been in the Marine Corps?
I've been in, as of November 6th, I've been in for 6 years.
6 years. What's your hometown?
Hometown is Orange County. I live actually in the city of Orange, in Orange County, California.
And after you went through boot camp, where was your first duty station?
First duty station was in Camp Pendleton, Horno. I was 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Division.
And how many years have you been with 2-1?
As before I came over to division schools, I was there for 5.5 years.
Do you have a lot of pride in the battalion, or?
Oh, definitely. You know, just, you know, the name, being a professional. You know, the deployments I've been on, there's just been a big, huge aspect of pride with the battalion and the cohesion, and especially like right before deployments, you can always tell everybody's on the same page, same mindset, ready to go. So.
Let's talk about your deployments. How many deployments have you been on, and to where?
Been on 3 deployments. First deployment was beginning of 2009 when we went to Iraq. And then second deployment was to Afghanistan, 2010. And then third deployment, 2012, and that was on the 31st MEU.
What was it like? What were your deployments like, and how did that help, you know, mold your perception of 2-1 in the Marine Corps?
First deployment, I was the lead Vic gunner for my platoon, the section. First deployment, we started out in northern Sinjar. It's the only mountain range in Iraq, really. And we moved up, and we were running interdiction missions along the Syrian border. And it was just literally nothing. There's no base, there's no cops, there's no FOBs. As we're just coiled up in trucks and, you know, running missions during day and night while we're also holding security and everything. That was for the first 2 months, and then we were done with that. Came back down to South Sinjar. That's at the time Army was running that. Got to finally take the first shower and everything, clean up, and then we made a huge movement, battalion movement, down to the Euphrates River, or the Werv. Went to both Haditha, Rawa. We actually closed down Kop Haditha. We were running out of Kop Rawa, doing all kind of different things like that, key leader engagements mostly. And then after that, moved out of there after about 3 months, and then went to Al-Assad. And when we were in Al-Assad, we were actually just running basic patrols, you know, convoys and everything like that. And then ended up, for the last month and a half I was there as part of the Hilo QRF. So that was a fun one. I mean, moved around a lot, did a lot of different things. Definitely never got boring, and it was a huge learning experience for me. So.
Now, what about your bumps to Afghanistan as a 34th?
Afghanistan definitely was something I was looking forward to. You know, when I went on my Iraq deployment, that was when Afghanistan was really getting hot, and definitely wanted to, you know, definitely would have traded the deployment, but you know, got to Afghanistan, found out we were going to Afghanistan, got to Afghanistan, and definitely reality kind of set in. About getting there, what we're about to do. There was a lot of anticipation. There was a lot of work up about it. You know, everybody had a solid, I would say that deployment 2-1 was the most solid group of individuals as far as same mindset, you know, ready to do whatever they needed to do as a battalion. You know, I remember a formation before we left with the sergeant major at the time, Sergeant Major Cook, and he was just, you know, giving us a motivational speech and everything without cue, without, you know, anything. The whole entire battalion, you know, gave a big loud hurrah, you know, and that's how I knew. That's how locked on we were. That's how motivating it was. So, anyways, so you know, we get there, and you know, it's actually kind of funny because we get there and we're all in anticipation, you know, adrenaline's pumping, land there. I remember that night we land, we have all our stuff, you know, it's like I want to say midnight or something, and we jump up, we get off the bird and everything. And we're all in that mindset, you know, set up a 360, all that good stuff and everything. And first thing we see after we start slowing down is we look around and we notice that the group of Marines that we're replacing are you know, just kind of real calm and everything, and they're not you know, they're not stressing out about anything. They're just like, hey, grab your bags, let's go over here, you know, kind of thing. And that's kind of like we realized, you know, hey, maybe we got a little bit too worked up, you know, and everything, but still kept the mindset of, you know, being ready at all times. So you know, and then during that deployment, you know, really we were sweeping up IEDs a lot, you know. In fact, one of the highest strike to find ratios of 96%, average is 50%. So to have that as a battalion is huge, and in fact, Weapons Company accounted for most of that. So that was cool being a part of that, you know, big cohesion right there. Other than that, you know, we stayed in the same spot. We opened up the first girls' school, which was huge, especially in that area. I remember for about a month, parents were scared to let their little girls go to school, and we not only swept out the boys' school every morning so that they, you know, didn't run up on anything unsuspectedly, you know, but we also made sure that that the girls' school was secured, and we had eyes on at all times, until the parents started getting more comfortable and everything like that, and they were able to send their kids to school. And I didn't think that it was that big of a deal, but now I kind of realized that, you know, as a whole, as far as coin operations, that is one of the most ideal situations, is being able to establish a place where, you know, you have the equality and, you know, education being established, and kids aren't afraid to go and parents aren't afraid to let their kids go to school. So that was one of the bigger things that we did. We did plenty of, you know, across the Helmand on the west side operations and everything like that. Nothing too big ever came of those. So, but that was my time in Afghanistan. Did the workup for the 31st MEU. At that point, I had re-enlisted and wanted to just see what a MEU is about. You know, had done 2 combat pumps and kind of just wanted to see what a MEU is about. And it's kind of interesting, you know, doing the workup for it. And you know, a lot of times it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around that you're doing a workup for a workup. You know, because really when you get on the MEU, you're just training again too. But that, you know, that was okay though, because there was a huge learning curve with most of the guys, and you know, there's good training to be had in different countries, especially working with their militaries too. You know, training them and everything, and then also obviously the Liberty ports. You know, enjoying all the Liberty ports. Definitely did that. So yeah, we went to Hong Kong, went to Malaysia, we went to the Philippines, obviously Japan, Guam, different places like that. So.
Now getting into the birthday ball, how many balls have you untitled at this point in your career?
I'd say like four balls.
And why do you think it's important for the Marine Corps to, recognize the birthday every year with the ball, and for it to be universally celebrated the same way?
It's the one time a year that everybody goes back to our roots and remembers our lineage and where we come from, and it's like a rebirth of that pride. I mean, some people call it lame or whatever, but bottom line is, even those individuals that might say that, when you get to the ball, there's not a single person there that isn't proud to be there, dressed up, and in remembrance of Marines past, and just an all-around good time,
What does the ball mean to you?
Just remembrance of where we came from and our history, our, like I said, lineage. That's not focused on enough, and it's like the one time a year that you really focus on it more so than you do normally.
You said you don't feel it's focused on enough. Why do you think Marines need to be focused on the history and how you put the lineage of the Marine Corps?
It's important to know where we came from. That adds a lot of pride to a unit. Esprit de corps. That adds a huge amount of pride. 2-1 specifically. I can wear 2-1 proud because of the deployments, things I've done on those deployments. Specifically opening up the girls' school in Afghanistan. Having the highest strike to fine ratio in Afghanistan, of 96%. Different things like that, esprit de corps. As the Marine Corps as a whole, going back to those roots and remembering all the titles and the respect that we get. 2-1's also known as Ghost Battalion. That's a huge part of lineage that a lot forget. And if you haven't ever heard that story, it's an awesome story, about Vietnam. So, that's why, it's important to go ahead and go for it and go with the ball, just because of the fact that you do get back to that. And like I said, it's not focused on, and that's where you get that whole pride, from. It's just pride in oneself and pride in your unit.
You kind of started touching on it, but I was wondering, do you feel you have a different perspective for the Marine Corps ball now, having deployed several times to combat zone? Do you think it's different for you now than it was originally, or about the same?
For me now, I feel a part of the lineage that's left behind. When I first started out, obviously, same huge pride in what I've accomplished, even though it was honestly at the time just becoming a Marine. Now I just feel a part of the lineage. That's it. That's the biggest difference. But I mean, the most important part for me is that sense of pride.
What's your favorite part of the ball when you go?
Favorite part, the recognition of Marines past, and it's all. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite part, but it's the part that hits me the most. Is the Marines past, not necessarily my favorite part. I enjoy the ball as a whole, but it's definitely not my favorite part. It's just, what gets me the most is the recognition of the Marines past.
How would you explain to someone who's not a Marine, who's witnessing the ball, how would you explain it to them, with the uniforms and the ceremony and Commandant's message and everything through?
I don't think it's anything you can explain. I think it's something you'd have to go ahead and take that individual to so they can experience it. Because, yeah, I mean, you could try to explain it all day, you wouldn't do it justice. Plain and simple.
Just a couple more questions and that's it. Why do you think the Marine Corps emphasizes its history and its lineage so much to its Marines?
Because without that, there's no pride. You know, we're you know, it's said on posters, you know, best of best, you know, few of the proud. You wouldn't have any of that if you didn't have the history and the lineage that we all know and that we all learn. Without that, there is no pride. I mean, you wanted to be a part of the toughest group, the hardest group. You know, it's actually funny. I have a cousin that was in the Army, and before I came in the Marine Corps, he's like, you know, it's like really hard, right? And I was like, yeah. And like, that's why I want to do it. So, I mean, we all join with that mindset. Whether that mindset, you know, passes, goes away, whatever, we all join with that mindset. There's nobody that doesn't join with that mindset, or at least that thought in their head. So, but yeah, no, it's just important because otherwise you just don't have that pride. You don't have the pride. There's plenty of organizations that know nothing about their history, and it shows because they don't have that pride.
Last question. What advice would you give to a young Marine who might be on the fence about attending the ball, or might think it's, you know, kind of lame? And just what advice would you give as a, you know, if you were their sergeant or anything like that?
Just go for the experience. If you're on the fence, you know, just go for the experience. You won't experience it again. If you're already on the fence, more than likely you're probably not going to stay in long enough to go to another one. And if you do, you know, you might just go ahead and as soon not go again just because you already made it a habit. Yeah, just go for the experience. And I you know, I think as soon as they go once, they realize, you know, why they should attend. You know, they don't need to attend, but why they should attend and why they're going to want to attend, you know, in the upcoming years.
Just to piggyback on that, do you remember kind of how you felt and what was going through your head the first time you saw everything from the cake cutting ceremony to, you know, the reading of Lejeune's letter and things like that? Kind of what was going through your head?
I just remember having just a huge sense of pride. That's it. That's the best way I can describe it. Is just I had a huge sense of pride in what I had achieved, and just becoming a Marine.